Every generation is shaped not by the loudest voices, but by those who preserve what truly matters. You were never designed to blend in. You were made to influence, preserve, and transform. Today, we unlock the power within you that doesn't demand attention, but commands results. Welcome to a journey where your purpose becomes impact and your presence becomes influence. Have you ever wondered why the world feels like it's losing its grip on values, purpose, and identity? It's because influence is fading and standards are being replaced with trends. But you were never designed to be a trend. You were designed to be a standard, a preservative, a force that holds things together when everything else is falling apart. Salt doesn't scream for attention, but nothing tastes right without it. That's influence. Real power doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being necessary, from showing up, from holding the line, from standing for what doesn't change, even when the culture does. You see, when society shifts, when the climate of morals, ethics, and integrity begins to decay, the world looks, knowingly or unknowingly, for something or someone that still stands. That's where you come in. You weren't placed where you are by accident. Your workplace, your community, your relationships, they need salt. Not to take over, but to preserve, to stop the rot, to hold together what others are trying to tear down. You don't need a microphone to lead, you just need to remain. You just need to be. Because when everything is going crazy, people don't follow the loudest, they follow the steadiest, the most consistent, the most anchored. And that's who you are becoming. This is not the time to blend in, it's the time to stand out by staying true. Stay grounded, stay distinct. Because salt that loses its flavor, it becomes useless. You weren't meant to disappear into the noise. You were meant to disrupt decay with quiet strength and clear identity. So here's the challenge. What do people taste when they encounter you? Do you blend into the background, or do you make life better just by being in the room? Your influence was never about popularity. It was about presence. And if influence starts with presence, what happens when your presence begins to shape the entire atmosphere? Now, that's where the power begins. But let me show you something even greater. What if your presence wasn't just noticed, but needed? Presence is not just about being in a place. It's about what happens because you're there. You were never sent into environments to take up space. You were sent to shift it, to shape it, to bring something that was missing before you arrived. Look around you. Your workplace, your family, your city, every environment is waiting on something. Not just talent, not just noise, not just activity, but presence. The kind that calms storms without a word. The kind that turns chaos into clarity. The kind that speaks louder than titles. You see, there's a difference between showing up and being seen. Many people show up, but very few carry presence. Because presence demands identity. It demands purpose. And when you know who you are, you change how spaces operate. People feel it, even if they can't explain it. They're drawn to it. Because presence brings stability. Presence brings direction. Have you ever noticed how some people walk into a room and the atmosphere changes? That's not charisma. That's clarity. That's someone who knows they were sent on assignment. And here's the truth. Your environment is not complete without you. You were designed to complete what's missing, to add what others can't, to carry what others dropped. You don't need to force it. You just need to be it. Be the anchor in the storm. Be the one who doesn't fold under pressure. Be the one who brings order without needing a title or applause. That's the power of presence. Influence is born in presence, not in position. People don't remember what you said nearly as much as how they felt when you were there. And if your presence can bring peace, purpose, and alignment, imagine what your absence creates. So here's the question. Are you just taking up space, or are you shifting it? Because when you understand the power of presence, you stop chasing environments and you start transforming them. But here's the real secret. What if the reason your presence matters so much is because there's something in you the world can't afford to lose? Identity is everything. Not just who you think you are, but who you were designed to be. The moment salt stops being salt, it loses its value. It's not useful, it's not trusted, and it's not effective. The power of salt isn't in what it looks like, it's in what it is. And the same is true for you. You were never meant to compromise your identity to fit into a world that doesn't even know what it wants. When salt tries to become sugar, it fails at both. Why? Because purpose is tied to purity. When you dilute your identity to please people, you weaken your impact. You don't preserve anything by blending in. You preserve it by standing firm. Let me ask you, what have you traded for approval? What have you watered down just to be accepted, just to be liked, just to be included? And was it worth it? You are born to be different. Not difficult, different. Unique. Called to a standard that doesn't shift with opinions or trends. Your power is not in imitation, it's in authenticity. Because when the real shows up, the fake can stand next to it. And when salt is pure, a little bit changes everything. Your strength is in your distinction. Salt doesn't apologize for its taste. It doesn't try to blend in with the plate. It changes the flavor of the whole dish. That's the hidden strength of identity. You don't have to announce it. People feel it. They respond to it. And most of all, they remember it. At the moment you compromise, you lose more than preference. You lose purpose. Don't exchange your core just to be invited to temporary tables. You bring value not because of how well you fit in, but because of how boldly you stand out. So let me ask you again, have you forgotten who you are? Or worse, have you been hiding it? Because here's the truth. Once you reclaim your identity, your voice starts to matter again. Your actions carry weight. And your presence becomes power. But what happens when your uniqueness isn't just protected, but deployed? Salt doesn't shout. It doesn't boast. It doesn't demand to be seen. But the moment it's missing, everything changes. That's what real impact looks like. It doesn't draw attention to itself. It changes the experience. Quiet, consistent, powerful. You weren't designed to make noise. You were designed to make a difference. Anybody can be loud. Anybody can trend. But can you be the one who adds value without needing the spotlight? Can you influence the atmosphere without having to say a word? That's what flavor does. It enhances, it lifts, it reveals potential in things that seemed ordinary. Salt brings the best out of what's already there. And that's your role in the world. You're not here to overpower people. You're here to bring out the greatness already buried inside them. But flavor without purpose is just seasoning without strategy. You weren't meant to just impress. You were meant to improve. That means knowing when to show up and how to show up. Not to take over, but to transform. Not to be the center, but to be the change. Ask yourself, what happens after you leave the room? Do people feel encouraged, sharpened, better than they were before? Or do they just remember the sound of your voice, but nothing changed in their life? Flavor with purpose means your presence makes people hungry for growth. It means your words add weight, not just volume. It means your life is a silent standard, not a loud echo. And here's the truth. When salt is used right, it disappears, but the results remain. So you don't have to chase applause. You don't need everyone to notice you. You just need to make sure the moment you show up, something gets better, something shifts, something awakens. Because in a world obsessed with visibility, real power is in effectiveness. Now, here's the real question. What happens when your presence not only enhances the space, but also preserves the values everyone else forgot? Salt is one of the most common elements on earth. It's everywhere. It's ordinary. Until it's needed. Then it becomes essential. That's the mystery of purpose. What looks simple on the surface is often holding everything together underneath. You may feel overlooked, unrecognized, even replaceable. But what if your value isn't found in how visible you are, but in how necessary you are? You weren't designed to be flashy. You were designed to be foundational. Without you, something stops working. Without you, something loses its taste. Without you, something begins to decay. The world doesn't need more famous people. It needs more essential people. People who understand their role. People who show up, not because they want to be seen, but because they understand if I don't bring what I was born to bring, something's going to be missing. You don't have to be everywhere, but you do need to be present where it matters. You don't have to know everything, but what you do know, you must release. Because your gift isn't just for you. It's the ingredient someone else is missing. And until you see yourself as essential, you'll keep living like you're optional. The most dangerous lie you could believe is, someone else will do it. Nope. Someone else can't be you. They can imitate you, they can admire you, but they cannot replace you. You were crafted for a reason, planted in a season, and trusted with a territory. So stop waiting to feel important and start walking like you matter, because you do. The shift happens the moment you realize, I may look ordinary, but I carry something essential. That's when your mindset changes. That's when the world begins to respond to you differently, because you're no longer waiting for permission. You're moving with conviction. Now ask yourself, if what you carry is essential, who's been waiting on you to show up? And what happens when you stop apologizing for your difference and start building with it? Every culture is built by people, but not just any people. Architects, those who don't just follow the blueprint, they become the blueprint. They don't adjust to the culture, they shape it. They set the tone, they define the standards, and they do it not with force, but with character. Character is louder than charisma. It lasts longer than popularity. It can't be bought, borrowed, or faked. And in a world where trends change by the hour, character is the one thing that keeps you from drifting. It's your anchor, your compass, your foundation. Salt doesn't adapt to its environment, it changes the environment. That's what you were designed to do. You weren't born to copy what exists. You were born to create what's missing. You're a cultural architect. But if the foundation of your life is unstable, how can you build anything that lasts? You don't build culture with noise. You build it with consistency. The way you think, the way you respond under pressure, the way you keep your word when no one's watching. That's culture building. And guess what? People are always watching. They're not just listening to what you say. They're measuring who you are. So ask yourself, what are you building around you? What do people become when they get close to you? Do you raise the standard or lower it to keep the peace? Do you challenge what's broken or do you stay quiet to fit in? The truth is, the world doesn't just need more leaders. It needs more examples. People whose lives speak louder than their lips. People who show us what integrity looks like in business, what honor looks like in relationships, what excellence looks like in everyday life. You don't need a title to shape culture. You need courage. You need conviction. You need character that doesn't bend when pressure hits. Because when your life becomes a standard, others rise to meet it. So what if the culture around you is broken? Then maybe you were sent to rebuild it. But what happens when your character doesn't just build, it begins to protect? You don't always have to be seen to be significant. Some of the most powerful forces in the world are invisible, but they're indispensable. Salt is small, silent, easy to overlook, but take it away and everything changes. That's you. Stop waiting to be recognized before you walk in your role. Stop measuring your impact by applause or attention. Some of the greatest change agents are working behind the scenes, unseen, uncelebrated, but undeniable, because they understand something most people miss. Visibility is a bonus, but value is a decision. You decide to be valuable. You decide to show up with excellence, whether anyone's watching or not. You decide to preserve what matters, even when others don't see it. And over time, that silent commitment becomes influence. That quiet strength becomes legacy. You weren't made to compete with noise. You were made to carry weight. You don't need to trend, you need to last. You don't need fame, you need fruit. Because what you're building isn't temporary, it's transformational. And transformation always begins underground, unseen, uncomfortable. Salt never asks for the spotlight because it doesn't need it. It just does the job. It changes things. It preserves what others let spoil. And when it's gone, people don't remember how it looked. They remember how much they needed it. That's impact. So if you feel invisible, good. That means you're probably focused. That means your roots are going deep. That means your influence is getting stronger. Don't run from the quiet seasons. That's where real power grows. Let others chase the crowd. You chase effectiveness. Let others build platforms. You build foundations. Because in the end, it's not about being everywhere. It's about being essential right where you are. So here's the question. Will you keep doing what's right, even when no one claps for it? Because the moment you embrace your role as the silent force of lasting change, you unlock your next assignment. And what happens when that silent force becomes a guardian of what's still worth protecting? You were never just called to exist. You were called to preserve, to protect, to hold the line when the world starts letting go. Salt doesn't just add flavor. It stops decay. It keeps what matters from falling apart. And that's exactly what your life is supposed to do. In a world that's constantly shifting, standards dropping, values eroding, truth getting blurred, the question isn't where is the noise? It's Where is the salt? Where are the people who refuse to compromise, who won't bend under pressure, who won't let the good things spoil just to keep the peace? Preservation is about responsibility. It means you see the decline, but you don't just talk about it. You stand against it. You hold the standard. You remind people what still matters. You live in a way that says, this may be normal now, but it's not right. You protect the unseen, the sacred, the core, not with control, but with conviction. Preservers don't need to be loud. They need to be clear. Clear in identity, clear in purpose, clear in action. Because when you're clear, people around you stop drifting. They find their way again. They realign. Not because you told them what to do, but because your life showed them what's possible. But here's what most people miss. If you lose your edge, your flavor, your discipline, your difference, you can't preserve anything. And the world doesn't need more salt that's lost its taste. It needs the real thing. Steady, consistent, resilient. You're not here to escape culture. You're here to influence it, to redeem it, to protect what still matters. And when you show up like that, everything shifts. So now the question is, what are you willing to protect, even if it costs you comfort? Because preservation always comes with a price. But what's the cost if we don't? Your life was never meant to blend in. It was meant to stand out. It was meant to be salt, bold, valuable, irreplaceable. So go, step into your space. Be the standard. Be the shift. Be the change. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more salt.